So you lie down, you close your eyes, and you fall into like a perfectly dreamless, deep sleep. But if you think about that for a second, where do you actually go?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, why don't you just disappear entirely? And how do you wake up the next morning remembering exactly who you are? So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a sort of down to earth Dharma approach to figure out where your identity goes when you're completely unconscious.
It really is one of the most profound mysteries of human experience, honestly,
Mm.
because, we spend roughly a third of our lives completely offline.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Yet the continuity of our identity never really breaks.
So, to understand how that works, we have to look at this ancient concept from the Pali language, which is the language of early Buddhist texts, and it's called Bhavanga Sita, which translates roughly to the components of existence.
Yeah, Bhavangatita.
Right. So, what is this actually doing while we're just, dead to the world?
Well, you can think of Bhavangasita as the baseline state of consciousness. It's the thing that keeps the life continuum flowing.
Okay.
Its core function is basically to maintain your individual identity when you aren't actively thinking or watching or listening or even dreaming.
So, it keeps you from essentially turning into a rock.
Yeah, exactly. An inanimate object.
When I was trying to wrap my head around this, I kept picturing a computer in sleep or standby mode.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Like the monitor is totally black, so it looks completely shut down to anyone looking at it. But the machine is actually still powered on. It's running all these vital background processes, so your digital life isn't interrupted when you wake it back up.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. But we do have to be careful with how we define that sleep mode in everyday terms.
How do you mean?
Well,
I-
people often say things like, oh, I was in a trance, or I was totally spaced out trying to describe a blank mind. But in the context of the Dhamma, the teachings of Buddhism, that's actually a misconception.
Oh, really? Because spacing out isn't actually an empty state.
Right. When you space out, your active mind is still subtly clinging to mental objects or daydreams. True Bhavangasita means the mind is receiving absolutely zero input.
Wow, zero.
Nothing. Nothing from the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or the active thinking mind. It is completely devoid of external data. It's far more subtle than the psychological concept of the subconscious.
I'm having a hard time squaring that, honestly. I mean, if the screen is perfectly dark and there's literally zero input coming in from any of my senses, how can my mind be doing anything at all?
It sounds like a paradox, sure.
Right, shouldn't it just be a completely empty box?
You would think so, but it actually functions as a massive hidden hard drive. While you're in this state, your mind is storing your karma.
Karma, like karma.
Yes, your accumulated merits, wrongdoings, and deeply ingrained habits. Because the mind isn't distracted by processing new sights and sounds, it uses this quiet baseline state to actively cement your daily actions into long-term character traits.
Wait, so it's silently compiling who I am while I'm not even looking?
Precisely. And it's not just happening when you sleep either. It operates much like a continuous, rapidly flowing underground river.
Okay.
Even right now, while you're wide awake and listening to this deep dive, your mind is constantly dipping in and out of Bhavangasita.
Wait, I'm doing this right now, like literally while I'm talking to you.
Yes, you are. Think of your conscious reality like a reel of movie film.
Okay, yeah.
Between every single frame of active sensory processing, there is a split second of black space.
Oh, and that black space is the Bhavangasita.
Exactly. Your mind drops back into that baseline river, updates the hard drive, and pops back up to process the next sight or sound. It happens so incredibly fast that the gaps are just completely invisible to you.
Man, that changes entirely how I view my own awake mind. So what mechanically happens in that fraction of a second when the mind leaves the standby state to perceive the outside world again?
Well, the traditional texts use the metaphor of a jar of water to explain this.
Okay, a jar of water.
Yeah. Those deeply ingrained habits and karmas we just talked about, they rest like a layer of sediment at the very bottom of the jar.
I see.
When the jar is completely undisturbed, which is when you are in Bhavangasita, the water above it is crystal clear.
But then something happens in the outside world. Right.
Right. Someone stirs the water with a stick, and in this case, the stick is a sudden sensory input. Your eyes see a striking image, or your ears hear a loud noise.
And that messes up the water.
Instantly. The moment that happens, the mind exits that clear standby state to process the input, and that muddy sediment of habit is instantly stirred up, clouding the clear water of the mind.
Meaning the mind literally never stops. I mean, it's on this endless, exhausting loop, switching millions of times a minute between active sensory processing and this deep storage standby mode.
Which is exactly why the practice of mindfulness is so vital. We can't stop the sensory input from stirring the water.
Right, we have to live in the world.
Right. But mindfulness is the active practice required to eventually filter and clear out that cloudy sediment sitting at the bottom of the jar.
Wow. So it's the only way to genuinely clean the water.
It really is.
And it leaves you with a pretty wild mystery to chew on. Think about this. If your core identity, your deepest karma and habits, is being stored and cemented in this dark, unconscious standby state while you sleep, then who exactly is the you that experiences your dreams?